What's up, everybody? This is Steven Robles from Apple Insider. You can follow me on Twitter at Steven Robles. I'd love to hear future videos you'd like to see, whether it's how-tos, reviews, or tips. We'd love to hear from you there. Today, we're going to talk about iPad multitasking. So Apple has held its WWDC event for 2021, and one of the big announcements was not only a new iOS 15, but iPadOS 15. Now, ever since the M1 iPad Pro was released just prior to WWDC, everybody was hoping that something big would come in the area of multitasking and giving the iPad Pro more abilities like the Mac, not having macOS on it, but just having some better multitasking, some better utility management on the iPad. So today we're going to talk about the multitasking changes in iPadOS 15, and I'm going to be honest, I have to tell you, this is not the multitasking you're looking for. Yes, Apple made some updates and they changed a couple things with multitasking on the iPad, and I'm going to show you all that. But frankly, we're still kind of stuck with side-by-side apps and a slide-over app, and that's pretty much it. They've added some windows that you can access in something they now call the shelf, and they've added a little menu where you can actually get into side-by-side mode a little easier. But overall, it's still side-by-side apps and slide-over, and not much else. So I'm going to walk you through it so you can see how to activate these new multitasking features. And remember, this is iPadOS 15. So I'm running the developer beta on my iPad Pro right here. And we don't recommend that you run betas on your daily driver devices, whether that's your iPhone, your iPad, or your Mac. If it's your primary device that you use, especially for work, running a beta can be a little risky. They do have public betas coming out in July of this year, so you might want to jump on the public beta. This right now is developer beta only, so you would need a developer account and have to download the betas from Apple's developer website. So here's a little preview of iPadOS 15 and multitasking on the iPad. So let's say you're going to open an app like Safari and you're on a website like apple.com. If you wanted to start side-by-side mode, the way you would do it before and the way you can still do it in iPadOS 15 is dragging an app from the dock or from a spotlight search. I'm going to take Bear from my dock here, and if I drag it up and to the right, it puts those two apps into side-by-side mode. Now that I'm in side-by-side mode, we do get another option here, and this is the new multitasking menu that was added in iPadOS 15. You'll see up here on top of both apps in side-by-side mode is the small multitasking menu. If I click this new multitasking menu, these three dots, I can put this app in full screen on one half of the screen or in that slide over view. So if I click slide over, it'll immediately put it in slide over Safari. If I click it again and say I'd like to do it full screen, I can move to that full screen view. And again, I can go back to half screen side by side. Now, if I didn't have an app already in the side by side view, this is now giving me an opportunity to tap any app, and this is new in iPadOS 15. You see that that app is kind of slid off to the side. If I tap another app like Safari, it'll put them in side by side view automatically. So if someone didn't know that you could drag an app to the side of the screen and start that side-by-side mode, this now kind of gives you that option to do it manually. And so I'll show you one more time. If I'm in an app and the app is full screen at the moment, I can tap the three little dots and I could say put this in side-by-side mode. The app slides over and now I can choose another app to use for side-by-side. Now I will say, I don't know if it's intuitive per se to know that tapping an app, once that app slides over, is going to do that side-by-side mode. You kind of just have to know it's going to do that. But it'll allow people to have a little better access to doing side-by-side and slide over without knowing all the gestures and hand waving that you might have had to do in past iPadOSs. Now, one cool feature of this little multitasking menu, these three dots, is it actually shows you which is the active window on the iPad. This is something that has not been on the iPad before. If you use a Mac, you'll know that the active window, whichever window you've clicked and the cursor and keyboard are active in, that window menu bar or toolbar will be kind of filled in color, and you'll see the yellow, green, and red dots on the top left for those controls. Well, now in the new iPadOS 15, this multitasking menu actually shows you which side, which app is active. You'll see here I have Bear on the right side, and the three little dots are kind of highlighted with a little gray outline or background. That means that that app is active, and so if I start typing, it will type in that app. And you'll see if I click over here to Safari and I want to type in the address bar, Those three dots now highlight on the left side in Safari, and I can type a website and I know it's active. And so as I click back and forth, it shows me what app is active at any given moment. And that's a good feature because before, sometimes I would start typing and it would be in the app that I didn't expect it to be in. And so that's just a glanceable way to know which app is active, which app are you actually typing in. Now, the second big addition to multitasking in iPadOS 15 is something that Apple is calling the shelf. And this means you can have multiple windows of an app open and you can kind of go between those windows, not necessarily in a side-by-side view, but you can have multiple Safari windows, multiple notes open, or multiple documents and pages, and you can go between those open documents in Windows using that shelf. Now, it's a little unintuitive on how to get to the shelf, but you could do it two ways. If you tap and hold on an app in the dock, you could see Show All Windows as a command there, and it'll show you that shelf now at the bottom. And I can tap to create a new window, and I can load another website here. I'll go to appleinsider.com. And so now I have two Safari windows open. But again, it's not really intuitive how to get to that shelf again or how to open it. If you can bring up the dock again, I can tap and hold on Safari, Show All Windows, and now you'll see I have those windows down here at the bottom in that shelf. There is a keyboard command to bring up the shelf as well. Now you can see keyboard shortcuts if you have your iPad attached to a physical keyboard or Magic Keyboard. If you hold the command button, it'll actually show you all the shortcuts available in the app that you're in at the moment. And you can kind of scroll through and see all the different shortcuts. But it doesn't show you the multitasking shortcuts in that menu when you're in an app. You actually have to go to the home screen. And now if I hold the command button, you'll see now I have system and multitasking shortcuts that I can go through. But it doesn't really show the shelf shortcut. There's nowhere here where it says do the globe icon and the down arrow to bring up the shelf. And so it's unfortunate that that is a hotkey, but Apple actually doesn't show you anywhere in the OS or in these keyboard shortcuts that it's there. Now again, this is the first beta of iPadOS 15, so it might change by the time it's actually released this fall, most likely September, October time to the public. So again, that keyboard shortcut to bring up the shelf where you have multiple windows of an app is the globe key and the down arrow, and you'll see that shelf show up at the bottom. You can also add new windows manually right here on the shelf. It'll bring up a new Safari window and you can load another website. And so now I actually have 3 windows of this app open, you'll see here in the shelf. Now let's say if I was in split screen mode, I'll drag Bear up here and now I have a split screen. You can actually have the shelf in split screen. So maybe you have, I want to do another window with just Bear, I can add a window and there Bear is available in a full screen menu. And so I kind of have these 2 windows here as I'm browsing Safari and Bear at the same time. Now closing these new windows in the shelf is again not super intuitive. You actually have to go to the multitasking switcher, and to do that you would swipe up from the bottom of the screen, hold for a second, and now you have multitasking view. Or if you have a trackpad attached or the Magic Keyboard, you can swipe up with 3 fingers and kind of to the up and to the right, and you'll see this multitasking mode. And you'll see I have a Safari window here, here, and here. These were what showed up in the shelf. And so if I swipe this pair out, and then I'll also swipe up this other Safari window, and now if I go to Safari and try to show all windows, it'll just show that one Safari window. So to close those additional windows, you have to go into the app switcher mode, which is again that 3-finger swipe up and to the right, or swipe with your finger up and kind of to the right to bring it up quickly, and then you can close those multiple windows. There is a keyboard shortcut to get to the app switcher as well, and that's the globe icon and the up arrow. That brings up the app switcher automatically. Now, I'm not used to the globe icon as my shortcut key. Most things are using the command button or the option key. But Apple does give you the option in iPadOS 15 to change what keys function as the shortcut keys in the settings. So if I go to the Settings app, and I go to General and then Keyboard, then you'll see an option for hardware keyboard, and right here you'll see modifier keys. And here I can make different keys, maybe the option key or the control key, also function as the globe key. So what I've done here is I've kept the globe key functioning as the globe key, but I've also added the option key to function as the globe. So if I wanted to access that app switcher, I can do globe and the up arrow, or I can also use the option key and the up arrow, and they both function in the same way. Now, one more addition which affects multitasking on iPadOS, but is kind of an overall feature, is Apple brought the app library to iPadOS. The app library came to the iPhone in iOS 14, and now it's on the iPad. And so if you have a full screen app and you want to start that side-by-side view, so if I wanted to start a side-by-side multitasking session, I can swipe up to access the dock, and then the app library just sits there all the way on the right in the dock. And if I tap that, and I can go into any of these folders, and again, all my apps are in the app library. So I don't have to search for anything or wonder if it's in this folder that I put in the dock. The app library has everything. And I can tap and drag bear again and do the side-by-side app as well. Now, one last thing in multitasking that you can do is if you bring up the app switcher, and I'll do the globe up arrow for that. So if I take this Notes app and drag it on top of the new Translate app, it will create a pair right here in the app switcher. And so if you have multiple apps open in this app switcher and you want to pair them quickly together, you can do that right here from the app switcher view. So that's a little convenient. So that's the new multitasking on iPadOS 15. Again, it's basically still side-by-side apps with slide over with a couple new ways to navigate around those options, and you have the shelf where you can have multiple windows of an app open. Now, we understand that 2020 was a difficult year. This is when Apple would have been working on these software updates. COVID happened and all the stay at home. So it might have been that Apple is planning some more multitasking for the future, maybe iPadOS 16 and totally revamping how it works. But Apple did feature it during the WWDC keynote as one of the main new features, new multitasking. And I would say it's not really new. Split-screen multitasking on iPad came with iOS 9 back in 2015. And again, it basically functions the same way, side-by-side apps with slide over. So we don't have any big multitasking updates now, and we don't really have features that take advantage of the M1 or the 16 gigabytes of RAM you can now get in an iPad Pro. We also didn't get Pro apps at WWDC, at least from Apple. No Final Cut, no Logic, and no Xcode on the iPad. Swift Playgrounds did get some good updates, and you can actually submit an app to the App Store directly from Swift Playgrounds on the iPad, so that's pretty cool. But when it comes to multitasking and making the iPad a more powered device, we just didn't get those features this year. You still can't do background audio in multiple apps. Importing files and any kind of Finder updates to the iPad didn't come. So we might be waiting another year till we see significant updates to iPadOS in regards to multitasking. So let me know what you think. Were you disappointed by these announcements at WWDC, or did you get what you wanted and are you going to upgrade your iPad anyway? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. I'll be down there replying to comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the Apple Insider YouTube channel. We have great tip videos, how-tos, reviews, new devices that come out. We cover all of that on the Apple Insider YouTube channel. Hit the bell icon so you're notified of all our new videos. And don't forget to follow and listen to our podcast. We have 3 podcasts at Apple Insider. The Apple Insider podcast comes out every Friday. I host that podcast with other members of Apple Insider, and we talk about the news, reviews, and all that. HomeKit Insider comes out every Monday, where we talk about all the HomeKit stuff, smart home, and all that Apple does with their HomeKit devices. And Apple Insider Daily, where you can get the top Apple news headlines in just a few minutes. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.